So Jennifer Kabbany is a journalist, writer, and editor with 15 years experience working locally and nationally in published newspapers, websites, and magazines. Is currently editor of the College Fix, and I think that's her subject tonight. A website that offers a daily dose of right-minded campus news commentary from across the nation. The College Fix also mentors and guides college students, giving them an opportunity to gain journalism experience. She's also a regular contributor to the National Review's Phi Beta Cons?
Yeah, Phi Beta Cons.
Cons blog on higher education. Previously, she held editorial positions at the Weekly Standard and the Washington Times, as well as worked for a decade at the California newspaper, covering schools, City Hall, and writing a weekly education column. Her work has appeared on Fox News, Daily Caller, Drudge, Bill O'Reilly, Instapundit, National Review, Online, U.S. News World Report, Huffington Post, and many other publications. She will be speaking on the lunacy occurring in America's institutions of higher education. And it says here, trigger warning, graphic content will be discussed.
I will live up to that promise.
Jennifer, it's good to see you again.
Thank you for having me. Good evening. I'm really happy to be here. Temecula resident, lived in Temecula since 2003. Recognize a lot of faces in the room, and it's just really an honor to be here. And Bob, thanks for having me. So I'm ready to liven up this joint. I told Bob, put a trigger warning on my speech, and you guys are going to find out in due time what a trigger warning is. So if anybody could raise their hand if they have a child or grandchild in college right now. A couple of you, okay. Well, I have some bad news for you. Well, it depends on what college they go to, actually. But I'm going to start by painting a picture here for us all. It's 2012. It's a dark morning in November 2012. It's the day after Obama was re-elected. And Rush Limbaugh declared, "We've lost the country." We have to face some truths. We have to face some reality, Limbaugh had said. We're outnumbered and we're losing ground. This was not a glitch. This is the trend. We're outnumbered, whether you want to put it in terms of how we lost the country or not. There's no other explanation. Yes, Republicans and conservatives are losing the country. But losing it to what? To whom? We're losing it to those who think this country is evil, unjust. They think it's an unjust nation that is not unique, but it is unique. It's an exceptional country built on one notion that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. No other nation before or since has been established on such a premise. And we have led this planet since, serving, as Reagan put it, as a shining city on a hill. That we meant to change a nation, and instead, we changed the world. Reagan, in his farewell address in 1989, noted this. He said, "Countries across the globe are turning to free markets and free speech and turning away from the ideologies of the past. For them, the great rediscovery of the 1980s has been that, lo and behold, the moral way of government is the practical way of government. Democracy, the profoundly good, is also the profoundly productive." But today, a little more than a quarter century after that speech, we see our beloved nation now falling into the footsteps of the political systems that we helped demolish. America is becoming a socialist country. Look around. We see Obama manhandling the office of the presidency, acting like he's a king instead of a leader. We see our nation's healthcare system taken over by the federal government through Obamacare. We see our local schools taken over by the federal government by Common Core. The institution of marriage as we know it could very well cease to exist in less than a year. Environmentalism has become a religion. Climate change is seriously cited as the biggest threat facing our nation today. But it's a red herring. Environmentalism hurting businesses, farmers, forcing policy down the throats of American people, telling them what kind of light bulbs they can use and what kind of car they can drive. I really miss the old light bulbs, by the way. Meanwhile, we see our military being taken over by atheism, its leaders driving out any allowance of Christianity within its ranks. And God has been taken out of our schools as well. Now the feds are using the spate of recent riots to argue for a federalized police force. The Occupy Wall Street folks and many of the urban rioters have a common battle cry. It's not fair. This country's corrupt. This country's racist. This country only supports rich white people, and so on and so on. We're beyond the slippery slope. We've slid down it. So where do these concepts take hold? Where do they take root? Where do they fester? Who's pushing them? I'm going to oversimplify the complex nature of that question by arguing that there are two major influences in our country that have led into this socialistic dive: pop culture and education. Conservatives have lost both fronts. With popular culture, that's obvious. Liberal Hollywood is in control. Entertainment, it's mindless movies or music. Sometimes they have messages that are influencing the minds more powerfully than we give them credit for. But another area of this country is changing young people's hearts and minds, prompting them to support policies that hurt America. That's the education arena. Socialists have never been shy about stating and even bragging their plan to use schools as a means to push their agenda. And now we have the federal Common Core curriculum. I don't need to tell you all about the problems with Common Core. Every day, a Common Core lesson pops up on social media that highlights its absurdity. Math problems that make 0 sense, worksheets that go beyond the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s to impart political lessons and sociology lessons. So, as you know, I'm editor of thecollegefix.com. And we mostly highlight the absurdities within the higher education realm, but Common Core is another subject we touch on because it's just that bad. For example, the biography of Barack Obama designed for 4th graders, approved under the Common Core curriculum, portrays white voters as racist, hell-bent on preventing Obama from becoming president. Other examples of Common Core gone amok include a 4th grade workbook that depicts Uncle Sam as a father figure, holding a baby citizen. The workbook tells students that the government is like a nation's family and is there to protect and provide for its citizens. Another Common Core text coaches students in ebonics. And a book approved for high schoolers under Common Core portrays pedophilia as innocent and tender. Last year, at least 3 states, Indiana, Oklahoma, and South Carolina, decided to at least nominally reject Common Core, and many other states are entertaining similar motions, but we here in liberal California, we're stuck with it. Another really concerning change that affects us here, and because many of our students in Temecula high schools are enrolled in advanced placement classes, college prep classes, the framework changes that the College Board made to advanced placement U.S. history course guidelines are a major concern. Critics have noted how the new framework inculcates a consistently negative view of the nation's past and largely ignores the founding fathers and the heroics of World War II. Perhaps the most alarming to the conservative activists is the new framework erases American giants such as Benjamin Franklin and James Madison and other founders. George Washington's contributions are reduced to a brief sentence noticing his farewell address. The framework has been edited to suggest that founders were bigots who, in quoting the framework itself, held a belief in white supremacy. Never mind that all men are created equal stuff, right? Now let's move on to college, my specialty. What are they teaching the kids in college these days? Brace yourselves. Actually, I'm going to issue a trigger warning. Do any of you know what a trigger warning is? A little bit. It's a new trend in higher education in which scholars are supposed to warn their fragile pupils if a controversial or graphic subject is about to come up. So they can plug their little ears or, I kid you not, find what's called a safe space on campus We'll circle back to that. But let me warn you, what you are about to hear is not for the faint of heart. So young people have voted for Obama in droves, right? And we're raising a generation of millennial voters who actually clamor for socialist policies. If you look at what is being taught in America's colleges, it should come as no surprise. The first thing they're taught is, if they are white, male, and heterosexual, that they are privileged and racist, whether they know it or not. And if they are a student of color, or on the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, questioning, flexual, asexual, polyamorous, bondage, discipline, dominant, submissive, sadomasochism spectrum, that's a mouthful, then they have been victims of unfair oppression all their lives, and they require special laws and help from the government to get by in life. You remember Obama's famous 2000, "You didn't build that," quote. Here's what he said. If you were successful, somebody along the lines gave you some help. There was a great teacher somewhere in your life, somebody helped to create this unbelievable America system that we have allowed you to thrive. Somebody invested in roads and bridges. If you got a business, you didn't build that. Somebody else made that happen. That's sort of what they're telling white straight students when they enter freshman orientation. They're told to check their privilege. They're told they have it so good because they're white. They haven't faced tough times. They don't know what it's like to be judged by the color of their skin or their sexual preferences. If they don't get this in freshman orientation, they'll get it in one of their mandated diversity courses required for graduation. These classes, like most professors, view the world with the lens of race, gender, or class, period. And they teach students to view it that way too. They're also taught what a horribly oppressive and mean economic system capitalism is. For example, an activism class at the University of Michigan teaches capitalism should be overthrown. In that class, the textbook describes capitalism as morally perverse and defined it as a profit-driven economic system rooted in inequality, exploitation, dispossession, and environmental destruction. A community college adjunct professor promoted the idea that capitalism is the cause of racism in the modern world. She said that at the White Privilege Conference in Madison, Wisconsin last year. In 2013, a popular Moral Foundations of Capitalism class at Stanford was canceled. A subsequent survey by the College Fix of 31 public and private universities across the nation found that the subject of capitalism is either maligned, ignored, or taught from a perspective other than objective economics. Make no mistake, these concepts are sinking in. Remember the bogus classes, inflated grades, and shadow curriculum at the University of North Carolina for its student athletes? It's been a huge controversy over the last few years. Well, some students there have declared the true cause of the scandal to be white supremacy and heteropatriarchal capitalism. And at Columbia University, an Ivy League university, student radicals published an activist manifesto for this new school year that declared capitalism is responsible for countless wars, endless poverty, mass exploitation, and oppression for the sake of profit. Capitalism isn't the only target. No, America itself is one. There was that huge story you've all probably heard of where a student government subcommittee at UC Irvine voted to ban hanging the American flag in certain parts of campus. They claimed the Stars and Stripes is offensive and divisive. Now that decision was only turned after national uproar. But a month prior to that UC Irvine vote, the University of California Student Association Board, now this represents 233,000 college students enrolled in the UC's 10 campuses, they approved a resolution that called on the system's leaders to financially divest from the United States. Yes, they voted to divest from America. Here's what that resolution stated. The government of the United States of America is engaged in drone strikes that have killed over 2,400 people in Pakistan and Yemen, many of them civilians. The government oversees by far the highest rate of imprisonment in the world, and racial and ethnic minorities are disproportionately targeted by law enforcement agencies, particularly for drug-related offenses. 400,000 undocumented immigrants are held in detention centers every year, and millions have been deported since the current administration took office. And the government is directly supporting and propping up numerous dictatorships around the world with weapons sales and foreign aid. This resolution is a direct result of what professors are teaching students. I'm about to read a list of headlines. The stories are some of our most read stories of 2014 on thecollegefix.com. It will paint the picture. More college students support post-birth abortion. That's infanticide. Feminist studies professor assaults teenage pro-life demonstrator. Professor warns Ted Cruz teabaggers to leave class or go home in a body bag. Student told he can't openly disagree with gay marriage in a class at a Jesuit college. All-you-can-eat taco bar is deemed offensive. Face campus extinction. I guess that means that too. Good thing none of you guys are wearing sombrero, or that would be called cultural appropriation. Law professor who specializes in poverty makes $205,000 a year teaching one class a semester. Harvard University workshop to teach students how to have anal sex. Man up, don't be a pussy labeled offensive language at Duke University. Public University Sex Week includes negotiating successful threesomes event. College exhibits nude photos of female students for empowerment. College gives students academic credit for pushing socialist causes on campus. Professor fired for calling global warming unproved science. University of Chicago students plan field trips to kinky sex dungeon. University of Georgia students take field trip to Planned Parenthood sex shop. Racially charged taxing incident was just a hoax to push diversity agenda. Colleges launched groups for white students to combat their white privilege. Hate crime exposed as a hoax. Student hung white and colored signs to make a point. And that's just some of our most popular stories from last year alone. Every single day we post similar articles. These colleges push socialist causes, accuse America of rampant racism, actively encourage students to explore their sexuality with all these sex week events, promote anti-American ideas, combat pro-life messages, and more. Yet at the same time, there has been a trend to infantilize students as well. Did you know in the state of California, and many others, there is a law that when college students engage in a sexual hookup, they must get what's called affirmative consent. It's known as the yes means yes law. The state has given students rules on how to have sex. So if they're getting hot and heavy, a series of may I touch you there, may I touch you there, may I touch you there, verbal questions must take place. Or else the hookup can later be deemed, wait for it, a sexual assault, or even a rape. And many young men are being railroaded by this policy, accused of sexually assaulting or raping women for not getting verbal affirmative consent during their tryst. There is also a movement that aims to offer students safe spaces. You may have heard about campuses are canceling or trying to cancel screenings of American Sniper, because the movie allegedly makes some Muslim students feel unsafe. And when conservative feminists speak on campus, often colleges will create a safe space on an alternative part of campus for students who feel victimized or traumatized by the fact that a conservative woman was chosen to speak at all on their campus. This happened when Christina Hoff Sommers recently spoke at Oberlin, and some students accused her of being a rape apologist, while others claimed they were unsafe by her very presence. And last fall at Brown University, Winnie McElroy gave a speech. She is a research fellow at the Independent Institute who has penned columns such as The Big Lie of a Rape Culture and Campus Act Would Hurt Sons to Save Daughters. Some students at the school criticized McElroy's very invitation to speak at Brown. And with that, alternative events for students too traumatized or triggered or attacked to listening to McElroy's arguments were arranged. And do you know how many strong female women who were tapped to serve as commencement speakers at graduation ceremonies last year actually ended up not doing so because students were in a tizzy over their very invitation? At Rutgers University, students and professors protested former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice's involvement on the War on Terror. They stormed administrative offices and created a petition, and she gracefully bowed out of serving as their commencement speaker. In another example, author and women's rights activist Ayaan Hirsi Ali was offered an honorary degree from Brandeis University and invited to give the commencement address at the school's graduation ceremony. But her invitation was rescinded after she received scathing criticism from the student body for criticizing Islam. Keep in mind, Ali's animosity toward Islamic fundamentalism was formed while she was living in Somalia, where she experienced female genital removal and an arranged marriage. Another powerful and accomplished woman, Christine Lagarde, the International Monetary Fund's managing director, stepped down as a commencement speaker at Smith College after more than 500 students signed a petition asking the college to rescind her invitation. The petition claimed Lagarde's work directly contributes to many of the systems that we are taught to fight against. These are the actions of students who are not being empowered to think for themselves. They're not being prepared for the real world. They silence conservative voices and shout down those they disagree with. And if this weren't bad enough, schools are dumbing down education. Prior to the 1960s, there were certain subjects students were taught. They were expected to learn. It was a natural extension of becoming a productive, well-rounded member of society. Logic, Western civilization, the scientific method, statistics. But during the 1960s, the do-your-own-thing age, there was a massive change from the rigidly controlled curriculums to a smorgasbord approach. Gone are the days when students are required to take statistics, logics, or Western civ. Curriculums are controlled by faculty members who aim to advance their own department's choices and courses and their narrow fields of research. So what's missing? Importantly, an awareness of mankind's past activities and ideas as influences on the present and future. So those who don't know history are doomed to repeat it, right? These students are taught to view America and the world through the narrow lens of identity politics, race, gender, and sexuality. The bigger picture is completely lost. So that's why when college students are asked why they're supporting Hillary Clinton, their sole answer is because she's a woman. If we want to change America, save America, we have to prioritize what young people are learning. One big way, thank you. So here's some thoughts on how to do that. One big way is homeschooling. Another is supplementing your child's education. My son, he's in high school. We watch Hillsdale College videos online on the Constitution and America's Foundation. I bring him to intelligent design symposiums. I buy documentaries that highlight the absurdities of the environmentalism movement. And we watch these together, we discuss the news. I tell him about what's going wrong with this country. We have to be proactive parents. We have to be proactive grandparents. If you say or do nothing and send your kids to college, they will most likely come out a Democrat and possibly a socialist. And finally, I would like to ask all of you to like the College Chicks on Facebook and follow us on Twitter and share our stories with your network. And if you have a child or a grandchild in college right now, we're always on the lookout for talented and ambitious young people to become student journalists for us. We train and pay college students to serve as our campus reporters. It's a win-win because they flesh out their budding resumes and gain valuable writing experience, and they get a chance to report on what's going on at their college campuses today. We have a national audience and a wonderful internship program in DC, and even if their major is law or political science, public relations, or some other field, learning how to write and report is a great skill to have. So please have them reach out to me. My contact information is on the flyer that I handed out. So thank you so much for your time this evening. It's been an honor and a pleasure to speak with you, and let's keep fighting the good fight.